Marilyn Monroe once said, "A wise girl knows her limits. A smart girl knows she has none." Congratulations to the new five-time women's champion, Sasha Banks. Yes, Booker T, just like Naomi, Sasha Banks deserves this because she worked her ass off and she got it based on her own merit. Just want to get that out of the way before Booker T says something on his podcast like Sasha hasn't earned this. It's like the old saying goes, work until you no longer need to introduce yourself. Well, if they didn't before last night, after last night, the whole world knows the name Sasha Banks. And that's because of all of the hard work that she has busted her ass and put in the last decade. Strong women like Mercedes, they don't have attitudes, no. They have standards. You either meet those standards or you get the hell out of their way. There's only so long that people like Sasha Banks can dumb themselves down and lower their standards just to help make you look good. Time after time we see the old man put in these floozies and Sasha has to have a great match with them. Now, there's no doubt she can. Sasha Banks can have a great match with a microwave. But after how long is enough enough? You put Sasha Banks in there with somebody like an Ember Moon, or a Kairi Sane, or an Asuka, or a Shayna Baszler, a Bianca Belair, or Charlotte Flair even. You're going to have epic matches. But the old man is too concerned with getting half the talent of Sasha Banks, those individuals. He's too busy trying to push them when Sasha was there the whole time. But you see, Sasha Banks is so damn good that no matter how long the old man tried to stuff her down into obscurity, she's so good, she kept prospering. Same thing with Bray Wyatt. No matter how many pay-per-view matches you had that guy lose, he kept carrying storylines on his back because he's so damn good. When you think like a boss and act like a boss, you're a fucking boss. That's what Sasha Banks is. Now, the finish. A lot of people are questioning that finish, as did I. I couldn't stand that finish at first. I was like, are you kidding me? Anything that makes Asuka look like a fool is something I'm not going to agree with. But when you really know the ins and outs of the business and you understand what is going on behind the scenes, it makes a lot more sense. You see, last night was Kairi Sane's last ever appearance for WWE. She's gone. That's official. And that's unfortunate. But that was the last time you're going to see Kairi Sane in WWE. And I mean that. She's going back to Japan and taking on a new life. Now, in pro wrestling, you say never, absolutely. I guess one day she could come to the States and appear in WWE again, but highly unlikely. It's one of those situations where she came here, she lived it, and she decided it's not for her. So she's going back to what is home for her, in Japan. If you didn't think it was for you the first time, why would you go back, right? That's insanity. So I don't see her returning. That's like somebody that goes back to the same relationship time and time, right? You finally break up with somebody and you realize that you haven't found anybody yet. You start doubting yourself and you start thinking, am I ever going to find anyone? So you go back to your ex. But they're an ex for a reason. Why are you going back? And then you see I'm telling you, I've seen this. You've seen the scenarios where they broke up 2 or 3 times and they keep going back to one another. And it's like, what the fuck? You think it's going to get better? At some point, you're just together out of fucking embarrassment because you couldn't find anyone else, so you didn't take a chance on yourself. My point is, I don't see Kairi coming back because if she didn't like it the first time, what is there waiting for her the second time? The old man in Stamford has done everything possible to make sure that Kairi Sane did not reach a level of success that she was capable of reaching. NXT, we started to see it. She won the Mae Young Classic. She became NXT Women's Champion. She was dominating. Everybody got to see exactly what she brought to the table skill-wise and talent-wise, and she got to the main roster, and the highest she ever got was a tag team title run with Asuka, and that was only because days earlier, Rio became the first ever AEW Women's Champion. So Vince McMahon went, well, don't we have Japanese talent somewhere? And they were like, yeah, you have Asuka in obscurity, Vince. Do you want me to go get her? Yeah, but she can't have one of my main titles. What about the tag titles? I have to have other Japanese talent. We have Kairi, Vince, we can put them together. Yeah, I love putting the same type of people together. Let's have them champs. Screw you, Rio. That's what Vince did. And then days after Rio won that championship, Asuka was plucked out of obscurity and Kairi got to see the time of day. She didn't get anything else. When she wasn't getting knocked out for real by Nia Jax, she was in obscurity. So it pains somebody like the Amplified Man to see Kairi Sane walk away after 3 years of that type of booking. But that's what the old man does. And she didn't just walk away with any baggage. She didn't walk away with a chip on her shoulder or with a sly word when she could have. Anybody else in Kairi's shoes, they would be a little bit angry, a little bit perturbed that they were used the way they were used for 3 years. Kairi walked away with a smile and with graciousness, thanking the company and the fans on her way out. Backing up everything I've ever heard about Kairi, that outside of pro wrestling, she is the nicest human being you will ever come across. I heard this from multiple individuals. Somebody who is in that company and works for the medical staff down at the PC told me time and time again that out of everybody he sees during a day at the PC, Kairi Sane was the most gracious, most awesome person he has ever met. That tells you something. This is the statement that Kairi Sane left after last night. And again, when you know that Kairi Sane was leaving, it makes the finish of Sasha and Asuka, it makes it make sense a bit more. And I think it actually helps Asuka's character. That the one thing in this world that would mean more to her than a title is her relationship with Kairi, like a sisterhood, not a friendship. And to see Kairi getting beaten like that, and she was written out of WWE, you will not see Kairi again. It makes it more impactful. So at first I wasn't up for that finish, but afterwards when I really saw what was going on and I saw Kairi's statement, I thought to myself, that finish makes a lot more sense now. And I'm definitely okay with it. Obviously, because Sasha's champion, and at the same point, I didn't want to see Asuka drop that title too soon, but again, storyline-wise, I'm intrigued with this and to see where it goes. But back to Kairi. Kairi left a message after Raw went off the airwaves last night, and it was a heartfelt message. Kairi Sane said the following. My time in the NXT and WWE locker rooms was incredible. Everyone was kind, funny, and talented, so every day was full of happiness. Also, I was saved by the supportive staff behind the scenes. I will forever love and respect all these professionals I had the pleasure of working with. I was able to accomplish so much in the last 3 years, but it wasn't because of my ability or my strength. It was because of all of the constant warm support from the fans. I am so thankful I could meet all you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Kairi Sane. So to Kairi Sane, on behalf of the entire AMP unit, we thank you and salute you. It may have only been 3 years, and you may not have been used properly, but we know, the majority of us, we know exactly what you're capable of. And though you didn't get to showcase your abilities, we know what you can do in that ring, and we know that you're one of the baddest women to ever come across a professional wrestling ring. We thank you so much for the time you spent in NXT, the time you spent on the main roster of WWE, and we always held you in the highest of regards. You were always a champion to us, no matter how the old man used you. I thank you so much, man. You were a bright spot every time you were on the card. I always looked forward to a Kairi Sane match. Nobody, since the Macho Man Randy Savage, drops a flying elbow like you do. And I will always honor you for that as well, man. You're just you are fucking incredible. And it's so sad that it ends like this. but I know you're onto much better things than the old man could ever give you. So, much love to you, Kairi. Thank you so much, man. Salute on behalf of the entire AMP unit. Now, guys, we have something to do. Something we gotta do. And that's go over this entire 3-hour Monday Night Raw. We're going to talk about Sasha and Asuka much more in depth, trust me. And how I truly feel about all of it. We're going to get to that. Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, the Hurt Business, and what I truly see in them. We have a lot to talk about in this. And you know, there's nobody, and I mean this, it's not just a cute little slogan. There is nobody in this community that does it like we do. Nobody is on the level of the Ant-Man, and nobody is on the level of the Amplified Unit. We are the very best in this community, and it's times like this where we shine the brightest. Let's down the caffeine now so we can go full throttle when this shit begins. I'll be back with you in about 15 seconds. So we start the show with back-to-back-to-back promos, 3 in a row. No lie. First was Randy Orton. Orton lays down a SummerSlam challenge to Drew McIntyre, which we all saw coming. We just didn't know how they were going to go about their business. They went direct and to the point. All right, normally I want a little bit more, but it's McIntyre and it's Orton. I mean, that shit's going to sell itself. So let's set it up now. And then hopefully we can start to use our creative juices. Usually Orton has a lot of say in his type of story and the way it goes. So I know him and McIntyre, even if creative has nothing for them, I know that they're going to make sure that this is as best a feud as possible. Just like Edge and Orton leading into WrestleMania, I expect something really cool to develop between McIntyre and Orton. We already know the match is going to be fucking awesome. It's McIntyre, Orton. You give us a little bit of a story and a reasoning too, which Orton kind of did in this promo. Orton dropped another fire promo. The guy is on a roll this last year. The last year of promo work for Randy Orton is better than his entire career together, promo-wise. Loving how he's dropping that straight fire promo work. So I expect something really cool out of him and Drew McIntyre. So that was basically, that was the gist of that promo. Then Orton left the ring. As he's leaving, Nia Jax hits the ring. So Nia Jax returns to Raw. Ironic, right? Irony, how it's Kairi Sane's last date ever for WWE, and here comes Nia Jax back. We know their history, obviously. So Jax lays down a challenge for the Raw Women's Championship. So she's like, hey, I'm inspired by what you just did, Randy. To Drew, I'm going to challenge for the Raw Women's Championship. But instead, she gets Shayna Baszler. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, Nia Jax, Baszler? This is interesting, and I'll tell you why in a second. The two immediately start brawling. I think Shayna said, Shayna said something to Nia. Nia just pelts her right in her dome piece. And Baszler's like, let's rock. So the two start brawling. And again, I like this because Jax isn't gonna bully around Baszler. It's just not gonna happen. Nia Jax bullies everybody around. When Nia Jax doesn't want to sell, which is 90% of the time, she is going to just bully you into offense. She's gonna make sure that you're on defense, you're selling, right? The only other person like that is Charlotte Flair. At least Charlotte Flair sells more than Nia Jax, way more. But Charlotte doesn't like to sell either. Charlotte likes to be on offense. If you hit Charlotte a little too hard, she's going to come back at you with a fucking receipt. That's 3 times as hard, even if it was an accident. It's that bully mentality. Nia Jax takes it to a whole nother level. We already know for a fact Nia Jax has injured over 10 females. Some of them duplicate times. So, once, twice, okay, you can say it's an accident. 3, 4 times, one crazy coincidence. But once you hit 3, 4, 5 times, man, you have to start looking at a trend. And once you hit 10 times, that's just an unsafe worker, right? She injures mouse girls. That's my side theme music for Nia Jax. But my point is, with Shayna Baszler, oh hell no. If you don't want to sell too damn bad, Baszler will force you to sell. You ain't the bully when Baszler's in that ring, I assure you. So if you want to send a receipt because of an accident, maybe Baszler was a little bit stiff on one of her blows, so you send a receipt to Baszler that's 3 times as hard, be prepared to get wabaka'd into unconsciousness, because Baszler will put you there. Baszler is not somebody who's going to fuck around with Nia Jax. So that's why I love this concept. If there is a little bit of a squabble between the two, Baszler, unlike others, is not going to back down. So I look for some real blows to be thrown during this feud. Last night, I have to rewatch it too, because they did come to blows, man. Because later in the night, Baszler and Jax actually had a match, sort of. It was like 60 seconds. But what happened after the match, that was the fun part. We'll get to that in a few minutes when we actually got to that. But for this was just the promo. Nia Jax clocks Baszler attacks Jax, and they were able to break them up. But this was not the end of these two. And man, it just got me thinking, finally, somebody who's willing to stand up to Nia Jax. Fucking love that, man. So that was the second promo, Nia Jax after Orton. And then, after a commercial break, we got the third promo in a row by the Street Profits. This was just really to set up a triple threat #1 contenders match for the Raw tag titles. The Viking Packers, that's right, I call them the Viking Packers now. There's only so many NFL teams I'm going to put together, man, until I have to promote my own Green Bay Packers. So the Viking Packers took on Ricochet and Cedric versus Garza and Andrade. This is another stupid schmaz match to set up a #1 contenders match. The concept of this match is so fucking stupid and redundant that it deserves not one more second of my time on it. Garza and Andrade win, and Garza and Andrade will take on the Street Profits at SummerSlam for the tag titles. What do you mean you're not excited for that? I am so over finding a #1 contender by just throwing everybody together in the middle of the ring. Triple threats, fatal 4-ways, fatal 10-ways, battle royals. Instead of taking the time to build up an actual legit #1 contender, it's much easier for them to throw everybody in the middle of the ring in a fatal whatever match. It's absolute bullshit. We've already seen every one of these teams not be deserving for a title shot. So after they've lost week after week, then you throw them in together for what? A second chance losers match? I just hate the way that this company comes across its #1 contenders. Back in the day, man, you knew before he was even announced who the #1 contender was going to be, because he was been being built up as such. Even if it was for a mid-card title like the IC title. You could see somebody being primed for it. They were being built up. So when the match was announced, the champion versus the #1 contender, the challenger, you were excited for it, man. You were invested because you had to see it. Now we're just, most of the time, I guess we should be happy it's weeks before SummerSlam, right? Beggars can't be choosers. This company usually does this type of schmazzery a week before the event. I'm just over it, man. I'm over the way this company comes up with #1 contenders. Mind-boggling to me that they could have so much airtime. 2 hours every Friday night, 3 hours every Monday night. And they just don't get creative at all. And I know it starts with the old man and it ends with the old man. You know? You could have all the creative minds in the world, really, but if this guy just refuses to change his ways, this is what we're going to continue to get. And then you wonder why people are not excited to see the championship match, because the #1 contenders, it's bullshit. It's a farce. And we like Garza and Andrade. They have so much talent. But when you book them like shit and then you come up with a #1 contenders triple threat match, and now we're supposed to go, wow, can't wait for this tag title match? But I've seen it before. And I've seen Garza and Andrade lose too many fucking times. And this isn't the way you come up with a number one contender. So everything you could imagine underneath the sun to be wrong is wrong here. That's not even opinion, guys. I'm just dropping facts for you. Next, we actually get, as I aforementioned, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. This is a matchup, supposedly. It only lasted 60 seconds, ending in a double countout because they were just more concerned with coming to blows with one another. So it's realistic. Usually I don't like 60-second matches, but usually I don't like Nia Jax matches anyway. So no harm, no foul. 60 seconds and Baszler's going toe-to-toe with Jax. I'm loving this, man. And post-match, these two not only beat the how you doing out of one another, but they also took out WWE officials. I mean, they just wanted to get at one another, right? I'm loving this. And I already started to see a little inkling of Nia Jax get frustrated with Baszler. Baszler was throwing in blows, and Nia does not like that. Nia does not like fast and furious shots being thrown at her. She hates it. Just go back to when Becky Lynch got her nose broke, or her face busted up, whatever it was, concussed. That was when she was already in the corner going to blows with somebody. Becky Lynch comes up behind her, and it was just too much for Jax to process. And Jax got pissed, and she stiffed Becky. It was not an accident. She stiffed Becky. And this, I've seen it time and time again with Nia Jax. She doesn't like when somebody's all over her, right? It's like somebody being swarmed with a bee. For Nia Jax, and she's a bigger girl, so she doesn't like people all over her in her space. Well, you're in the wrong business. This is pro wrestling. The whole job is to have somebody in your face at all times. You're wrestling. You know, you can't get into this business and expect just because you're a big girl that you're going to dominate everybody and everybody has to obey you and they should be on more defense than you. No, that's not cool. Anytime Nia Jax has to sell too much or even just a little, anytime Nia Jax has to be on the defense, she gets pissed off. We saw that a little bit last night. She tried to shrug off Baszler and didn't want to sell, and Baszler came right back at her like, bitch, you're going to sell. So, man, I love that, dude. Absolutely love the concept of these two. But who would be the face? Neither should be, obviously. Nia Jax, we've seen her do a face heel turn a million times because Vince has tried to push her so many times, and it fails time after time, just like Lacey Evans, just like Charlotte Flair. Push, 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 fail, fail, fail. So Nia Jax turning face again for this feud? No, thank you. Seen it, been there, done that. It failed. Shayna Baszler is too good as a heel. I would hate to see her the face, but if this is going to be a long-term feud leading towards, say, SummerSlam, you know Shayna Baszler is going to be the face in this because we just like Shayna more. So we'll see where it leads to. Maybe she'll become a badass face, right? Something that they wanted Becky Lynch to really be. And at first, Becky Lynch was being. Maybe Shayna Baszler can fill that role. But you're going to have a face if this is going to be a month-long feud. Somebody is going to be cheered. Somebody is going to be the one we don't want to see. But I'm interested to see these two, man. I never thought I'd say that about Nia Jax. But this is fun because somebody is able now to stand up to Jax's bullshit. I like it. Hour number 1 ends and hour 2 begins with Seth Rollins calling out Dominic Mysterio. Dominic hits the ring, takes out Rollins. Rollins and Murphy annihilate Dominic. Of course, it wouldn't be a Mysterio family segment without the residential third wheel, Aleister Black, showing up and attempting to make the save. I say attempted because Black immediately was destroyed by Rollins and Murphy as well. And why Aleister hit the ring with loafers, I have no idea. Aleister Black comes to the ring with fucking loafers. This is supposed to be the most baddest dudes in WWE because he legit is. And he's coming to make the save in loafers. Come on, Aleister, man. Look the part, bro. Anyway, Black comes out, and he's been having horrible booking as of late. We already know Aleister Black has just been used to further Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins' storyline. He's just been a third wheel. Why he cares so much about Rey Mysterio's feud and not his own, that is foolish booking. The casual fan even has to look at Black like a fucking absolute moron. Dude, worry about yourself for a moment. So here's Aleister Black again, and he immediately gets beat up by Rollins and Murphy as well. I mean, could Black look any more like a fucking fool? They even took out his eye on the steps, just like they did to Rey Mysterio a month or two back. So they did that so not only did Black get beat up, but then he gets his fucking eye wrecked. I mean, they just tooled on this dude. It was so embarrassing for Aleister Black that Dominic had to come back to life, basically. And Dominic had to make the save for Aleister. Dominic comes in with a kendo stick and just starts chasing off Rollins and Murphy. If it wasn't for Dominic, Aleister Black would have been fucking... Oh man, I don't even want to think about it. How bad is it that you have to be saved by Dominic Mysterio? Not trying to throw shade at Dominic, great kid. But I mean, come on, the dude doesn't look like he's ever hit a gym a day in his life. I mean, and he's saving you, Aleister. This is the booking that I'm talking about. And then people wonder, BC, don't you think you're being overly harsh? Don't you think you're critiquing too much? Don't you think you're overanalyzing, BC? And I ask you guys, the ones that ask me those questions, I ask you a question. Aren't you tired of being treated like an idiot? A better question, or at least on the same level, aren't you tired of these superstars with immaculate talent being treated like idiots? And being made to look like fools. Aren't you tired of that? Just asking for a friend. And again, Aleister, ditch the loafers next time, please. That is not you, bro. I don't, come on, stop. MVP's VIP Lounge is next. I love the concept of the VIP Lounge. I just do. I'd like to see it more like Ric Flair's Flair for the Gold back in the day. You guys remember that? Flair for the Gold. It was a talk show by Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen too, I believe. And it was back in WCW. It was called Flair for the Gold. And they all would just sit on this big sofa. They all had the champagne popping. They were relaxed. It was a cool atmosphere. You felt like you were in Ric Flair's home and they were just partying. It was such an intimate atmosphere. I want to see the VIP lounge just like that. I want to see MVP sitting down. You got the champagne. I want to see Bobby Lashley with his fucking, 1 foot over the other, just lounging. Shelton Benjamin's just on his phone, relaxing. I want to see it like an intimate, kind of a legit lounge. It has to be more personal like that. They can't all just be standing up and those are just props. And if they do it more like Flair for the Gold back in WCW and they make this a real legit intimate segment and feel, I love the VIP lounge concept. And I also love the concept of the Hurt Business with Lashley and Benjamin. I'd expand and dominate with them. And by expand, I mean some key players. I would put people like Aleister Black with them, right? Let's get away from the stereotype and putting every type of a person together, Vince. I know you love to put Japanese with Japanese, black with black, and fucking if you look like a bike member, you're with another bike member. And everybody has to be, Latino with Latino. Let's split that up. What if Shelton and Lashley was with Aleister Black and say Randy Orton, right? Some key players and you make a dominant faction. I miss days like the NWO. Now, obviously, we'll never have a faction like the NWO. We will never even see a faction like DX. But have your own unique fashion that's captivating. We are missing that in pro wrestling. A captivating faction. Back in the day when the NWO's music hit, you got to the edge of your seat because you knew shit was about to go down. Your interest level spiked tenfold. Just hearing the music, we need that again in pro wrestling, especially WWE anyway. I had hopes that AEW Inner Circle was going to be that, and then they kind of just became Inner Circle, right? Just a faction. I want a faction that when the music hits, man, you're like, something awesome's about to go down. Someone's getting whooped. This is going to be fun. And you're captivated from the jump. I think the Hurt Business has the capability of doing that. And you say, BC, Aleister Black wouldn't fit with them, man. He should be a face and he should be on his own. Well, how's that working out for him? He has nothing to lose. Why not make him a fucking heel? Why not put him in a dominant faction and let him fucking reach new heights with them? And then when he breaks away, he made a name for himself even to the casual fan. Randy Orton, you put him with them, he's already a main player. You say it wouldn't work. But I believe that we would have thought that with Hulk Hogan teaming up with Diesel and Razor Ramon. If you would have told anybody back in the day that Hulk Hogan is going to team up with Razor Ramon and Diesel, they're not even going to be Razor and Diesel. They're going to be Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. people would have said you'd done fallen on your dome piece a couple, 2, 3 times too much as a kid. But they did join forces and it worked. If you were to say that Randy Orton was going to link up with an unknown rookie, Ted DiBiase Jr., and Cody Rhodes, a rookie, you'd say, what? That doesn't make sense. Randy doesn't belong with them. It's not going to fit. It's not going to work. Legacy was fucking awesome. You probably would have said an unknown Batista and Randy Orton with Ric Flair and Triple H isn't going to work. It was flawless. I'm just using Aleister and Randy Orton as 2 dudes. You could pick up a plethora of individuals on the roster that would go with Benjamin and Lashley to start the formation of something badass. And you have the mouthpiece at the forefront in MVP. They could still have singles runs, but you have them, just like the NWO used to do, and DX, you have them as a unit be so badass that they captivate your attention from the music alone. I really believe there's potential in the Hurt Business. I just love the concept, man. And what MVP can do for everybody too. But I don't want just some individuals joining them. I want heavy hitters. I want people on par with Aleister Black and Randy Orton. Because I just think when they all come to the ring for a VIP lounge, man, you get those vibes of old school. Because you have some heavy hitting players in there. And they're a real unit. And you know, nobody's going to have the balls to fuck with these dudes. Who's going to come to the ring? That's fun, man. And back in the day with the NWO, there'd be 10 dudes in the ring, and you'd have like Sting coming from the rafters, like, I have the balls to do it. Roddy Piper would be so crazy enough, he'd come to the ring and take on 10 people, or at least face them and get his ass whooped, but he was going to stand up to them. Those are the situations and the scenarios that I miss. The Hurt Business has a chance to be that. That's how I see it going anyway. I would expand and dominate with the Hurt Business. Mustafa Ali is the guest. MVP offers an ultimatum to Mustafa Ali. Join the Hurt Business or wind up like Apollo Crews. Now see, that's exactly what I don't want. I know a lot of you guys like Mustafa Ali. I understand that. But I don't want to see just any Joe Schmo join the Hurt Business. I don't want to see Apollo join or Cedric or Mustafa. I want heavy hitters, man. Heavy fucking hitters. I want this to be a real thing. You know? Man, I just have so much creativity in me right now. I just wish I was in charge of the Hurt Business, man, of booking them. Oh, whether you just give me a couple weeks, you will be caring about the Hurt Business. And in just a couple of weeks' time, they'll be one of the brightest spots of the show. Fuck. So anyway, Ali has issued that ultimatum. Join us or you're going to wind up like your buddy Apollo, who we haven't seen in forever because of the Wabaka that's hitting the globe. WWE is treating this as an injury, though, not the Wabaka, but we know the truth. But I like the fact that they laid down that ultimatum anyway. Before Ali can even decide, R-Truth comes out of nowhere and takes out Benjamin to try to get back his 48-7-11 title. I want to go figure, man. But Benjamin escapes and we go to commercial as Ali and Lashley is announced up next. Back from break, indeed we have Ali and Lashley one-on-one. Mid-match, Tozawa and a bunch of ninjas interfere. If that sounds silly, it was. Just imagine watching all this unfold. Ninjas all around the ring getting beat up. Ali ends up tapping out via the full Nelson. A lot of you guys might not like that because you like Ali, but Bobby Lashley would obviously defeat Ali. And I love the fact that they are keeping Lashley's momentum going. He's a dominant force. He's a dominant presence. He's badass. This full Nelson is taking out dudes left and right. You're not going to have Ali just beat Bobby Lashley after weeks of finally building this guy up to the monster he was always supposed to be. Sorry, not sorry. So I will agree with you on one thing. This match never should have happened. Ali just came back. Protect him a little bit. Have him garner up some wins. I totally agree with that. This match shouldn't have happened. But because it did, there was only one right outcome. Bobby Lashley had to win this thing. If you think Ali should be beating Bobby Lashley, we're fucking on a totally different wavelength. Bobby Lashley, all of this time putting people in full Nelson and finally looking dominant was just to lose to Ali. Stop it. Stop. So this, to me, was the right call. The bad call was having this match in the first place. Ali just came back last week. I don't understand it. But watching Lashley continue his dominance, man, I'm loving it. He could be, guys. He could be the next one to take the title off of Drew McIntyre. Be prepared for that. I don't think it's going to be Orton, because I don't think McIntyre's held the title too long. SummerSlam just seems like too soon to be dropping the title. Not that Orton isn't deserving of it, but it just seems too soon. So I think McIntyre is going to find a way to walk out of SummerSlam with that title. But I think it could be. I think Lashley's being primed to do such, to be the next champ. And that's what I mean. A lot of fans just think he's still boring, or he just doesn't have that charismatic it factor. And I understand where they're coming from, and that's what I mean. If you book him correctly and in a faction like the Hurt Business, you could really up his stock tenfold. What they do with Lashley going forward, if he is the one to take the title off of Drew McIntyre in the future, what they do starting right now, starting yesterday with Bobby Lashley, means a world of difference. So they better not fuck this up, because Lashley is more than capable of being a legit champion going forward. But if you don't book him like that, your audience is not going to buy into this. I'm telling you right now. And this is coming from somebody who wouldn't mind seeing Lashley get that title. I would not blame the WWE Universe. Can't stand that. But I can't blame the audience out there for taking what WWE gives them and Bobby Lashley being champion and throwing it right back in their face. I wouldn't blame them. If you're not going to book him correctly, nobody's going to want to see him in that role. Anyway, Ali taps out via the full Nelson. Sasha Banks versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship takes us out of hour number 2 and into hour number 3. This is going to take a minute, so let me get a caffeine boost, if I will. Over 20 minutes in length was this one, man. Sasha and Asuka, over 20 minutes. That's all you can ask for. Please, give them over fucking 20 minutes. It's not that hard of a concept. You have Sasha, you have Asuka, you have two of the best female wrestlers in the world. You have them under in your organization. You have them on the same roster. Give them over 20 minutes, bro, especially if it's a championship match. I love just about every second of this match. The finish, I'll get to in a minute. But when you talk sheer wrestling, storytelling, desperation, emotion, these two delivered and checked off every box. Asuka screaming, I'm the champion, I'm the champion. And she's screaming that at first toward Sasha. But then Asuka is crawling on the mat trying to get to her feet. And she's facing the mat and she's screaming, I'm the champion. That's the type of psychology I love. That's the type of emotion that draws you into the match even more. If she's just screaming at Sasha Banks, then that's the theatrics. It's still psychology, but it's the theatrics, right? You expect that. But when she's staring at the mat and her hair is over her face, so you can't see her screaming, you are literally audibly hearing her scream out, I'm the champion, I'm the champion, screaming. It's almost like she's doubting herself. Like, what do I have to do to put away Sasha? That's the type of shit I notice, and that's the type of shit that I love. And on the flip side, you had Banks screaming, I need this, I need this, I need it. And she's screaming that as she has the Banks statement held. And that submission lock is pretty badassly hooked on. I mean, at one point, I didn't think Asuka even could break out of that. I mean, she had it legit a few times in this matchup. And you had Sasha screaming, I need this, I need it. Like pretty much saying, dude, just tap out. I am not walking out of here without this title. You don't understand what this means to my world, to my life. I need this more than you do. It's that type of story that is told in just a few words being spat out during a match that captivate and draw in your audience. I absolutely loved it. These are things that maybe a lot of you guys didn't even notice or just passed by, but they make a world of difference in what already was a dominant match. And she's screaming, I need this, I need it. And that's for her own confidence. She's doubting her own, existence without that championship, especially with her best friend holding all the gold. Who am I, right? She's got all this. Can I do it? And you're questioning yourself now. Man, I love all that, man. Banks was switching sides flawlessly at the end of this thing with her Banks statement. Flawlessly. Banks statement is hooked on. Asuka gets out of it. Sasha doesn't panic. She switches to the other side. Fucking amazing, bro. Absolutely loved it. Switching sides like nothing, man. And Asuka refusing to tap out. No matter what side you're on, I'm not tapping out. I don't care if you need this title more than I do. You don't know what I need. And you don't know what I'm about to do to you. I ain't tapping out. And if I get up, you're done. Asuka's got that look on her face. And it's just sheer brilliance, the magic that they have together. The finish saw Asuka run to the back to save Kairi Sane because up on the Tron, Bayley was beating the hell out of Kairi Sane. Blasting her head into the garage door and just beating on her. And Asuka's kind of like, fuck, I know just because we've been at war for over 20 minutes, nothing I do within the next 5 minutes is probably going to put Sasha out. I mean, nothing I do. Sasha is just not giving in. So I know I have at least another 5-10 minutes of war here. That's, Asuka's look in her face. She's looking at Sasha like, this is not going to end anytime soon. My friend is getting the shit kicked out. I have to go save her. And so Asuka runs to the back to save Kairi and hold off Bayley. And in doing such, she got counted out. Now, this match needed to have a new champion because the champion was kind of held up thanks to Stephanie McMahon. So no count out, no DQ here. Or if there is, the other individual will become champion. Well, that's what happened. Asuka got counted out. Sasha became the new and 5-time women's champion, this time for the Raw brand. And at first I was like, come on, bro. You just made Asuka look like an absolute idiot. She left a title match because her friend's getting beat up. But then I thought about it, man, and I started to hear the confirmation that was Kairi's last appearance. That was it. And that beating is Kairi's goodbye to WWE. They were writing her not off TV, just out of the company. So Asuka attending to her sister, not just friend, but they were like sisters. It took on a whole nother meaning. And I started to like that finish a lot more. And it saved face for Asuka. And it also added a different dynamic to her character. Because now that Kairi's gone, she can use that as fuel. You took out Kairi. You took Kairi from me. Kairi will never be seen again. And you did this. You think this is just about a title? It can add a whole nother level, layer, and dynamic. A whole spectrum to the story of Sasha and Asuka. And I love that, man. And obviously, there's a little bias here. This is a pro Sasha Banks channel. So yeah, when Sasha hoisted up that championship, I was like a proud father. Now granted, don't get it twisted. I'm not old enough to be her father, thank you. But I just put so much stock into Sasha because I know how good she is and I know how bad she's been used. And it's not right. So I talk so much about Sasha Banks and what she truly does deserve because I believe that in my heart wholeheartedly, that's what she believes. And in my heart, I believe that. In my mind, I know that. And to see her finally get what she has long overdue. I mean, it's been, 1,064 days before she held a championship, I believe, guys, a singles title. I think it was over 1,000 days. In her 4 previous title reigns, 4 reigns lasted 82 days collectively. So I've seen the mistreatment of one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen in this world in my 3 decades plus of watching pro wrestling. And I've seen how she's been misused, mistreated. And to see her hoist up a championship, whether it was Asuka or not, it was so awesome. And I couldn't have been more proud. And then the more I thought about the finish, I think this is going to help Asuka in the future. I really do. So I understand why people are upset with the finish, why they think it made Asuka look like a joke, why it was way too soon for Asuka to drop the title. And I'm with you on that last part especially, guys. In fact, I said at Extreme Rules, I don't see Sasha walking away with the title. As much as I would love to see it, I actually wouldn't. I'd rather her and Bayley take on one another for the SmackDown Women's title. I told you guys that because I didn't want to see Asuka drop the title. But last night, I saw a lot of good come from that ending. And again, at first, I hated the finish. And then I started really thinking about it. And I think this does so much going forward for so many. And hopefully us, the fans, as well. But this is a goodbye to Kairi. And we have to stay focused on that, man. We thank Kairi for everything she's done. She's awesome even when she wasn't used as such. Even when Vince McMahon didn't look at her as awesome, we knew she was awesome. So Kairi left in that segment. Asuka is now pissed off more than we've ever seen her. They tried to get an interview later in the night and she was batshit crazy. Done. So that's what I mean about adding a whole nother level to Asuka and Sasha Banks holding up that championship 5-time. And her and Bayley holding all the gold. They're on top of the world. And they've been They've been a consistent for a period of time on all 3 shows, including NXT. So to say that they don't deserve all the gold right now, well, that would be kind of foolish. They've kind of held the company on their backs, carried it on their backs for the past several months, while this Wabaka has been taking individuals in and out of the organization. Sasha and Bayley have remained a constant, and they have been firing on all cylinders, there for everything they've been asked to do. Man, I like this. I liked it a lot, man. Sasha Banks is champion. Pretty cool. You know, those are the moments you never know if you're going to get again. When you see how she's being used and you know how much you truly want the best for her. You just want her to hoist up a singles title. And there comes times, the old man is this nutty, man. There comes times where you start to doubt if she's ever going to hold up a singles title again. Happened last night. So fucking awesome. And I can't wait to see where they go from here with it. You know, a lot of people are just pissed off. I'm willing to see where this goes. For sure. Especially with Asuka. Murphy defeats Humberto up next. This was just a come-down match from Sasha and Asuka. They do this at pay-per-views a lot when you have a big-time matchup or something that delivered and fans are really into. And then you have a match to kind of calm everybody down. Even though there wasn't people in attendance, you're calming down the audience at home, you know. So you have Murphy defeating Humberto in about 5 minutes. Nothing to talk about here, man. Another L for Humberto. Main event was an Extreme Rules match for the heavyweight title, McIntyre versus Ziggler. This was more of an Extreme Rules match than the actual Extreme Rules match they had at Extreme Rules, if that makes sense. That was at the pay-per-view, and that match was, yeah. You know, and then you have this one, and I thought this was more physical than that one. McIntyre wins in post-match. Obviously, we knew McIntyre was going to defeat Dolph. This was literally sucking any last ounce of care out of Dolph and McIntyre that they could truly suck out of. And that's what they did. McIntyre wins. Post-match celebration, obviously. McIntyre up on the turnbuckle, comes back into the middle of the ring. He's celebrating. And right before Raw goes off the air, out of nowhere, Orton with an RKO. And Orton hoists up that heavyweight championship as we go off the air. I love it. I love it, man. I was waiting for it. When Orton delivered the promo earlier in the night, he said that you're not even going to see it coming. And that's what he did, man. RKO post-match celebration after he defeats Dolph. And there's Randy Orton. And that's what I mean. You picture McIntyre and Orton together, middle of the ring, face to face. It's one of those things you sit back. Like, I won't even be taking notes on this one, guys. At SummerSlam, I'm literally going to just watch this for everything that it's going to be. And during that review, the good, the bad, and the ugly of SummerSlam, you're just going to have everything that I remember from that match. I'm just going to spit it back to you guys. And that's how we're going to do that. There will be no notes for Orton and McIntyre. That's one of those matches you do not miss a second. And that was Raw. So obviously the big storyline is Sasha Banks getting that championship and obviously setting up Orton and McIntyre for SummerSlam. So SummerSlam is actually looking much better than any recent pay-per-view that we've seen. I mean, WrestleMania was okay card-wise as well, I should say. But there's been some questionable cards at recent pay-per-views. I'm not just going to throw them a mulligan because of the Wabaka, man. You know, you can put together better pay-per-view cards. SummerSlam is looking to be much better. We'll see where they go. But those are the big storylines. McIntyre, Orton, Sasha, Asuka. And I see potential with the Hurt business. I really do. I hope they don't drop the ball with this. I'm seeing something, man. I'm thinking old school WCW here. And if we can add a component or two actually is what I would like. 2 more components, not mid-level talent, big time talent. You put them with the Hurt business. You got something big there. And also, what I'm intrigued with is Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the reasons I aforementioned in this video. So there's some things I'm into, man. There's some things I'm into. We'll see if they can keep that interest. But congrats to Sasha Banks. And again, thank you, Kairi Sane. Another salute to you. Honestly, you are fucking one of a kind, man. And hopefully one day, maybe years and years from now, but we'll see you again in the States. And hopefully it's at a time where Vince McMahon steps aside. That's all I can say. Because this guy can't get it through his head. He cannot get it through his head how much talent he truly has on the roster and how he just doesn't give a fuck. Anyway, I don't want to leave it on a bad note. Sasha Banks, you're fucking champion. And this is a pro Sasha channel, so to the Sasha crew and all the Banks crew, man. Group hug, right? Group hug, man. Congrats. We made it through over 1,000 days of bullshit. She's got her championship, and I don't think Asuka's going to be hurt too much from this. I see nothing but this helping her. We'll see. The Ant-Man. I'll see you guys later in the week for AEW and NXT's review. Hopefully, I want to do both. We'll see if I do. And obviously SmackDown and the podcast. So still a lot more content coming up in the week. Down those coffees and whoop that ass. Stay amped. Always. Check you later.